Dude, okay, so it's October. The Reds aren't in the postseason. We get it. Okay, we talked about it. We're very upset. Whatever. We'll move on. But one thing I did say is another area the Reds need to target in this offseason, going into the 2025 season. Last week, we covered big swinging boys. Right? We covered them. We know who we want. Now, let's get a little bit more specific. We need, in the 2025 season, for our Reds to succeed, they need more high leverage relief pitching.
Yes, we do. And you can see how important that is during the regular season, and you can see how much more magnified that is in the postseason.
Especially with the Dodgers. Look at that. They had a bullpen game where there were like 6 dudes in that bullpen. We were like, they could be closers literally any fucking where else.
Yeah, and that is such a difficult tightrope to walk when you're doing like the bullpen game, because you got to rely on like 5-6 guys in a row to get you to, you got to rely on all those guys to have a good game. Yeah. So it's very difficult, and we really do need additional pitching in the bullpen, because when you think about starters, it feels like those positions are pretty locked up.
We got them, and then there's some depth.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't mind them signing another veteran pitcher. Maybe that's something we talk about next week.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's spoiler alert. We are going to talk about a starting veteran pitcher next week.
Okay, cool.
So yeah,
I'll prepare myself.
You should. Get ready. I'm going to send all the info over.
But definitely adding to the bullpen to where you can get yourself transition from starter to closer. You need to have those bridge pieces that you can rely on to get the wins and make sure you don't have those little fumbles like the Reds did a lot, losing these one-run games. So it's very critical to have these pieces that you can count on.
Right, because then you're not in a position where you're like, well, this guy's tired. This guy's pitched 2 days in a row. We've pitched Fernando Cruz 4 days in a row, and he's completely lost his splitter. Well, time to throw out KZ Ligma nuts, and then the game is over.
Yeah, you can't just punt or just say, like, we'll see what happens with this guy. You got to have those defined roles, or at least those guys that they got ice in their veins, and go in there, throw strikes, get the job done, pass it off to the next guy.
And they have one nasty setup pitch and a nasty out pitch. That's the minimum. I got a list. I got about 5 guys here. Are they going to sign all of them? No. Do they need to sign all of them? No. Do they need to sign at least 3 of them? Yes. I say the minimum is 3.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Some of these are pretty sure things. You know what they are. You know they've been through their career and they've been dudes. Some of these guys are lottery tickets. I get it. But you got to take a little bit of a risk. Just like that, trying to hold that cough in.
Mm-hmm.
And guess what? It didn't pay off. Now my throat hurts. So... okay.
But that was a risk I was willing to take.
Yeah, it's not our money.
Mm-mm.
So, here are the 5 dudes the Reds need to target this offseason high leverage relievers. Here we go. Number 1 on my list, Aroldis Chapman.
Interesting.
Wouldn't that be fun? It's not like his name's been thrown around here a bunch.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2, Blake Triton. It's almost like I brought him up in the end of the 2019 season, going into the 2020 season, saying, this guy could be a cornerstone in your bullpen. And guess what he's been? A cornerstone for the Dodgers bullpen, except for 1 year when he hurt his shoulder. Number 3, Kirby Yates.
Curbster.
The curb man sucking up saves. Number 4, Aaron Bummer. Bummer, bro, you're coming to the Reds. Number 5, Kendall, we're digging a grave, man.
Oh, yeah,
Dude.
the dead man.
Kendall Graveman, dude. Okay, let's start from the top. Aroldis Chapman. We are all very familiar with Aroldis Chapman. We're also familiar with what he did in Pittsburgh. It was pretty good for a guy who's 78 years old.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he does have baggage. I don't claim to know all the stuff about him, but the one thing I do know, he's got a heck of an arm still. And he still strikes fear into opponents. And I know he's a bit up there in age, but Billy will break down the stats here because he can still sling it.
Yeah, he'll be in his age 37 season next year, and his 4-seam fastball averaged 97.8 miles per hour. He also hit 102, 103 at some points this year when he was really feeling it. That velocity is still there, and that combined with the slider and a little bit of usage on the splitter, he's still a deadly weapon that can set you up in the 7th or 8th inning.
Yeah, he does seem to be a pitcher that has matured a lot. Granted, he did have a lot of maturation to go through, but he does seem to be a guy that has improved his pitching quality over the years.
Yeah, he's He left New York, went to Kansas City, found himself again because in New York, they were like, dude, live on your slider. And he was like, what? And they're like, yeah, dude, live on your slider. He's like, no, you know I can throw 119 miles an hour? They're like, throw the slider, which is the same pitching philosophy that they tried to have with Sonny Gray. Did that work out for him? No. And then what did he do? Come to the Reds. It was really good. It's the same kind of obscure philosophy that I don't understand why the Yankees keep doing it, but then they go out and they sign guys that fit the philosophy, which was worked for them. Look where they are now. They're in the World Series. So instead of changing guys to fit their philosophy, they now have guys that fit. Doesn't matter. Aroldis Chapman needs to come to the Reds and just hurl and have the ending. Bookend your career. Start in Cincy, end in Cincy, and take this young rotation, this young pen to the next level.
It would be interesting. Would it be kind of a bit of a redemption arc to have him come back and kind of, end his career on good terms with Cincinnati? Not that he left with any sort of real negativity, but just all those stories that kind of surround him. Yeah,
he did. I mean, he was choking his girlfriend, firing off a gun in his garage like he was Yosemite Sam.
I was trying to avoid.
I wasn't.
I know. But specifically, like, with the club. Outside the field, yeah, he's a maniac.
Right. Well, here's the thing. He was kept in check in New York. You didn't hear any stories. He was kept in check in Kansas City, unless they just put him out on a farm in the middle of Missouri, and they're like, dude, just fire your guns.
Beat up, punch these cows.
Punch the cow, choke your chickens.
Yeah, tenderize this meat, whatever you got to do.
Whatever you got to do. And they're like, all right. Then he went to Texas, and they were like, same thing. And he was like, see. And then went to Pittsburgh. And they were fine. You haven't heard anything. You just see him become an absolute monster and bulk up.
Yeah, I do want to give a path for everyone to better themselves and make amends for anything. But that's those stories did stick in my head when he was a Red. So
yeah, and dude, I just want him back because when we traded him, it was such a dog shit trade, and it didn't work. And I'm like, this is the redemption. That it's like, it didn't matter that we traded him. He went on this journey. I mean, he won a World Series with the Rangers and the Cubs.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie.
How cool.
Having that arm be a setup to Alexis Diaz would be top tier.
Yeah. You're talking about watching the Mets on Sunday and that they had to put Edwin Diaz out there in the fourth. Because they're like, this is the highest leverage situation. And that was their best arm. And then they burned him for the rest of the game. Mm-hmm. You having these type of guys being there and go, I can hold off on Alexis. And we know how he pitches in high leverage situations outside of the ninth inning. Maybe that's something that's a maturity thing. That's something that he gets more used to the more he does it, as much as I don't want him to. But being able to be like, Aroldis, you're going in there. This is the highest leverage situation right now. We're going to deploy you, and we're going to trust that you'll get him out and have Alexis to shut it down.
I like that. And it also extinguishes the idea that, hey, maybe I'll try to get 5 or 6 outs out of Alexis. It's like, no. We got the guy to set him up. Yeah. So that's fine.
And then we can extend those guys for next days to win the series and then go, all right, now it's game 3 of the series. We can use the other guys that we signed or the young guys that are here to help flesh out the rest of the pen.
Yeah, man. Oh, just thinking about the possibilities. If he was on the team right now, I just feel so much better.
Right? Here's another name that'll make you feel better. Blake Triton. I know you aren't as familiar with him as I am. This is someone I wanted the Reds to sign in the 2020 season. He was coming off of a killer year in 2019 with Oakland. And then the Dodgers swooped him up because that's what the Dodgers do. Was hurt last year with a shoulder issue, I believe. I don't think it was full TJ. It was something with his shoulder. He's going into his age 37 season, but I'm not too worried about that because of the sweeper is so nasty, and it's about dotting his fastball and going away with his sinker, too. I mean, it's about spin and not overall velocity, and this is a dude that has that, and I think next year he will continue that.
Oh, yeah, if he can do that, if he can manage to find the zone, throw strikes, and be able to, dot his pitches, I think that's the thing that brings me the most confidence is seeing pitchers that can go in there, know a philosophy on pitching, can execute their pitches, as well as be able to throw strikes. What we saw a lot this past season with the Reds, we would get in trouble by walking a lot of guys and getting behind in counts. We had so many issues with getting batters ahead in the counts, and then we have to throw them strikes. We have to rely on the fastballs and then just tee off on them. So having a guy that can throw strikes, I'm so stoked about.
Yeah, I mean, this year he had 56 strikeouts to 11 walks in 50 games. That's a nice sub 1 whip, obviously. He solves a lot of problems. And again, when you're talking about pitches for strikes, he's got 4 different ones. And his sweeper's gross. And it's mostly a sweeper-sinker combo of 39%, 34%. But he'll throw a cutter in there at 16, and then he'll work the top of the zone with a fastball at 11%, where he goes, this is an out pitch that I can use regularly once you've seen the rest of my repertoire. Mm-hmm. Which, when you're trying to get 3 outs, that's really nice to have.
Yeah, man, just keep the hitter off balanced and just, throw strikes. I think he had a bruised lung and cracked rib or something.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, I don't know. Huh. How about that, huh?
How about that? He's coming from the Dodgers. That's a winning organization. They're in the World Series. How about having that with those young guys over there, huh?
Seriously, dude.
Imagine they win it, and the Reds sign him. He walks in with a big diamond ring going just like, I can show you how to do this.
Yeah, and you got Terry over there. I can show you too. And fucking Aroldis over there. Yeah, let me show you how.
Let me show you how. And then it's just, here's how we do it, boys. Let's go win.
Yeah, show them it's not impossible. Because, what the Reds are saying, there seems like to be a culture of mediocrity here. So just showing that, no, there's a larger perspective out there where you can get, deeper into, the postseason.
Yeah. We're bringing in guys who have been there, not guys who are used to the same old bullshit.
Yeah, this is not where the season ends. This is where the second season begins, and you're in the playoffs.
Yes. Number 3, Kirby Yates. Kirby Yates had a quietly great season in Texas. He was an all-star this year. Kirby Yates also had 33 saves at the age of 37, going into his age 38 season. Scally, I know, hurt all of 2021, pitched and okay in Atlanta in 22 and 23, but really locked it in Texas this year. What says he couldn't do that at age 38?
Evidence from a lot of players before him. No.
You're right.
It really does depend on the type of player that you are, and when you do get up there, it is kind of a bit of a gamble. But if he is capable of producing these numbers here, he'd be an asset to the Reds bullpen here. And he is primarily, essentially a 2-pitch pitcher, but it's a 4-seamer and a split. They work well together. And if he's just coming in to get 3-4 outs,
Yep, he had an ERA of 1.17 on the season with an ERA plus of 3.40. It wasn't about speed, man. It was about how much spin he created with his fastball and his splitter, and through the slider 1% of the time. So which means he's coming at you with your fastball, he's coming high and inside, and then he's dropping the splitter on you, making you chase it because he's getting ahead of you in counts. I think he could replicate that in a Reds uniform next season. Is it? And dude, it's not going to cost you a lot of money. I think you sign him on a show, on hey man, you're on your way out. 3.5, maybe $4 million. Mm-hmm. That's a number that Crawl likes. That's why he's 3rd on this list. It's not just because he performed this season, but it's like this is a $5 lottery ticket.
Yeah, man. And you're going to have some of those. And you know what? You can always go out and buy some additional arms, later on in the season. But you don't wait around too long. And obviously, not everyone's going to be available. But, you can do additional things throughout the year.
Big shopping done in December and January.
Get it all done before Christmas.
Get it all done before and after Christmas. Look, his injury history does scare me. But at the same time, I'm like, I would take the risk. But... So you might, maybe this is my 3 and this could be 4. I think these next dudes are interchangeable. I think I might lean that I should have put this guy 3rd instead of 4th. But it's Aaron Bummer. Aaron Bummer is, he turns 32 in the middle of September next year. He's a lefty. He's got a weird arm slot, throws at the 7 degrees. He's got 5 pitches, sweeper, sinker, four-seam, cutter, curve, change. He relies heavily on the sweeper and the sinker. It'd be like, if you aren't familiar with him, it'd be like if Nick you know what? Yeah, it'd be like if Nick Lodolo was a high leverage reliever. He'd be like Andrew Miller, if you remember that guy. Mm-hmm. Very Andrew Miller type. Lefty. I mean, that a guy can really go after you too. Not a ton of velocity, 93.1, but it doesn't matter when you have such a weird arm slot.
Yeah, man, he seems like a throwback. Those loogie pitchers, those left-handed only, like one out, you know. So yeah, these guys are very useful in certain situations to really isolate some power lefties, man.
Yeah, he had a 116 ERA plus in 56 games. Very useful fella, especially when you need another lefty in your pen when you have potentially some free agents that could be leaving that were left-handers. So you got to not just fill, but get better. And this is a get better situation. Lastly on my list, Kendall Graveman. He didn't pitch at all last year. This is a guy that you could probably even get on like a 1-year, $2.5 million, or an invitee to camp, something along those lines. You can get him on the major league minimum because he's got to prove it. But when he has been out there, the guy's really nasty. Sinker, slider, four-seam, change, curve. Mostly a sinker slider guy, but this four-seam does live at the top of the zone and a good swing and miss out pitch. When he did pitch last, when he had a full season, which was 2023, ERA plus of 141.
Dang.
He had 66 strikeouts to 36 walks, so that's a little sketch. But, dude, he's a guy that has been there before with the Mariners and the Astros. Another guy who's got a ring, who can show you how it's done. And this guy won't cost you much because it's a little bit of a gamble.
Yeah, and this can be a dude that has something to prove. You know, come back, a little chip on your shoulder, see if I can do it. You know, I've won a World Series at another location. And, hey, let me show you how it's done.
Yeah. Now, a lot of the reasons why I'm saying, like, this guy's a real gamble, this is a real risk, you're able to do that because you have so much depth in your farm system that you are going to have to take some of these starters and turn them into relievers. Zach Maxwell was in Louisville. There's no reason for him not to be competing for a spot in this bullpen next year for your Cincinnati Reds.
Yeah, there are some people that can come up that are young with this Reds organization that can have a spot in the bullpen.
Yeah, Connor Phillips is killing it in Arizona. Look, he can compete all he wants for a rotation spot, and if he gets it, what a comeback story. But if not, he has the stuff to be a really good reliever. And the big one that we haven't talked about, Graham Ashcraft. When he comes back, that man is going to the bullpen.
It makes total sense. First off, I don't think something would have to go pretty wrong with the essentially 5 guys ahead of him that would be starting pitchers. And just thinking about how he is built, I think Ashcraft would be a great hurler from the bullpen, coming in those high leverage situations, you know, just like a big bulldog coming out there, kicking dirt and just heaving it. If he can't figure out how to necessarily pitch, maybe have him come in. Don't put, 5-6 innings on his shoulders. Make it be 1.
Yeah, make it 1 1/3. Come in there, throw 101 at the top of the zone, and then hit him with the sweeper.
Yeah, try and figure out your stuff, and we'll put it in a much lower leverage situation being in the pen as opposed to being a starter.
Yeah, because, bro, we've got 1 through 4 pretty much locked in.
Yes.
With some depth.
And if you want a spot on the team, I think it's definitely going to be in the pen as opposed to starting.
Yeah, and why don't you come in and be nasty? It's not a demotion. As a matter of fact, you're going to be guaranteed to pitch.
Yeah, you might pitch a lot more than what you, or at least get more appearances, and you can still start. Say there's, oh my goodness, an injury that happens. We're not familiar with that. Then you can come in and be a starter, or like what Martinez was. Middle of last year and beginning of last year, where he would be a long relief guy.
Yeah. Yes. Absolutely. There's a lot of roles that they can fill internally, but they gotta spend and get these high leverage dudes. As you notice, these lists are shorter than they were last offseason because it's not that crazy. They don't need to do that much. They really don't. They're really close.
Yeah, very few things that they could do. There's a few things that they could do that aren't difficult and wouldn't break the bank for them to really greatly improve one aspect of their game.
Yep.